So there are lots of developments on the legal front, friends. Let's take on three stories. One involving Sidney Powell, one involving Matt Gaetz, and one involving the continued failures of Donald Trump's legal team. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So many legal developments, so little time. Let's take on three of what seem to be a dozen breaking legal stories over the past 24 hours. Let's start with Sidney Powell. We got a runner. Here is the new reporting from Salon magazine. Sidney Powell fails to appear at Trump-related grand jury interview. And that article begins, controversial far-right attorney Sidney Powell was scheduled to appear before a Fulton County special grand jury in Georgia on Thursday, but did not appear as scheduled. And a local Georgia TV station reports, quote, Sidney Powell, former attorney of former President Donald Trump, was scheduled to testify Thursday morning, but sources tell Channel 2 Action News that there may have been some confusion over the subpoena, and she apparently did not testify, WSB-TV reported. It is unclear if there will be any legal repercussions from her failure to appear. So is it just me, friends, or do you also envision a pack of bloodhounds chasing a kraken through the woods, through the swamps? Well, we'll see if Sidney the Kraken Powell makes an appearance anytime soon before a Georgia grand jury. Okay, second breaking legal story, and there's nothing funny about this one. This from the Washington Post. Career prosecutors recommend no charges for Gaetz in sex trafficking probe. And that article begins, career prosecutors have recommended against charging Representative Matt Gaetz in a long-running sex trafficking investigation, telling Justice Department superiors that a conviction is unlikely, in part because of credibility questions with the two central witnesses, according to people familiar with the matter. Okay, let's talk about what might be happening here. In these kinds of cases, this one reportedly involves sex trafficking of young girls who were 17 at the time, this was some years ago, and are now in their mid-20s. There are times when the victims don't want to cooperate with the investigators, with the prosecutors, and that can make it very difficult to bring a successful prosecution. Add on top of that the fact that the main cooperating witness, Joel Greenberg, is really a truly horrible person based on the crimes he committed, the scope, the nature, the breadth of those crimes. And he is a deeply damaged cooperating witness who the prosecutors would have to put on the stand against Matt Gaetz and urge the jurors to credit his testimony, even though Joel Greenberg committed this horrible series of offenses. Now, we do that, prosecutors do that. We take truly horrible people and we corroborate their testimony so that we can prove to the jury that they're being truthful. But it can often be a really challenging task building cases on the backs of witnesses, victims who refuse to cooperate, and cooperating witnesses who themselves are so deeply damaged and unappealing. I would describe Joel Greenberg as a 10-foot pole witness, right? He's the kind of cooperating witness that you really only want to touch with the end of a 10-foot pole. But here's the thing, friends. All hope is not lost for accountability to come for Matt Gaetz. Why? Because he still has that little problem of requesting a blanket pardon for all of his crimes. Remember the reporting about that? This from the New York Times. Matt Gaetz, loyal for years to Trump, is said to have sought a blanket pardon. And that article reads, in part, Representative Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida, was one of President Donald Trump's most vocal allies during his term, publicly pledging loyalty and even signing a letter nominating the president for the Nobel Peace Prize. In the final weeks of Mr. Trump's term, Mr. Gaetz sought something in return. He privately asked the White House for blanket, preemptive pardons for himself and unidentified congressional allies for any crimes they may have committed, according to two people told of the discussions. Matt Gaetz asked for a blanket, preemptive pardon. Let's translate that into English. Matt Gaetz knew he committed crimes, and he wanted to get away with those crimes. And the only way he thought he could go about it was asking Donald Trump for a blanket, preemptive pardon. Blanket means for every crime he has ever committed in his life, and preemptive means before the prosecutors even get a chance to charge him, to try him, to convict him for the crimes he committed. So, yeah, accountability will come for Matt Gaetz. Okay, let's take on the third legal development, and friends, this one is delicious. Donald Trump's criminal defense team, his attorneys, have painted themselves into a corner. Trump and his attorneys demanded that Judge Cannon appoint a special master to review the classified documents that the FBI seized from Mar-a-Lago, and Judge Cannon said, yes, Mr. Trump. Trump and his attorney said, and we want the special master to be Judge Raymond Dearie, and Judge Cannon said, yes, Mr. Trump. And now, Judge Dearie's in charge. Here's today's reporting from the Washington Post. Dearie asks Trump lawyers whether they believe FBI lied about seized documents. And that article begins, the Mar-a-Lago special master on Thursday ordered Donald Trump's lawyers to state in a court filing whether they believe FBI agents lied about documents seized from the former president's Florida residence in a court-authorized search last month, or claimed to have taken items that were not actually in Trump's possession. All right, friends, let's recap. First, Judge Dearie told Donald Trump and his criminal defense team, I'll do the review of these records that you want me to do, that Judge Cannon put me in charge to do. First, I'm going to need you to certify what documents, if any, Donald Trump declassified, because that's important for me to know when I'm reviewing these documents for possible privilege. And Donald Trump's defense team said to Judge Dearie, no, we're not going to do it. We can't do it because that would actually hurt or hamper our defense of Donald Trump when and if he's criminally indicted. Boy, what an admission by Donald Trump's defense team. Now, as we just read in the new Washington Post reporting, Judge Dearie said, I am also going to need you to certify whether you are saying the FBI planted documents at Mar-a-Lago. Because if you're asserting that, for example, 50 of these classified documents were planted, well then when I'm reviewing them, I don't need to review those for possible privilege because you didn't take them to Mar-a-Lago, did you? You're saying the FBI planted them. And Judge Dearie has given Trump's criminal defense team some time to answer that question. I suspect they're going to answer it the same way. They're going to say, we're not going to say whether the FBI planted documents or not, because that would make it more difficult for us to defend Donald Trump once he is indicted. You know, friends, one thing is becoming more clear by the day. Donald Trump's criminal defense team is not very good at this lawyering thing. It'll be interesting to see whether they continue on this path playing a losing game with Judge Dearie and with the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals that overturned Judge Cannon's ruling in the first place? Or might they change course? You know, I suspect they may be huddled up right now discussing whether they should withdraw their request for a special master because they're not winning the kind of delay they had hoped for. In fact, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals and Judge Dearie are both moving at light speed. And on the tactical front, they are losing and losing and losing. It would actually be, I think, a smart tactical decision at this point for them to just withdraw their request for a special master. Just abandon this legal path that is damaging them rather than helping them. That, of course, assumes that they are in a position to make a smart tactical decision that's not overruled by their idiot client, Donald Trump. We'll stay tuned to this story, friends, and see where it takes us. As always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.